All right, here we go. And Le Gette, welcome to the future of fitness, my friend.
Thank you for the invitation, Eric. Super
Yeah.
happy to be here.
Yeah, you guys are immortal. You're creating quite the buzz, as I was telling you before. I guess that also kudos to Jack Taylor PR. They're doing part of their job as well, right? I first met you in person was this year, and we're recording in the end of 2025 at the Athletech Innovation Summit in New York, and you guys showed up with this huge like, it's the
Airstream.
silver Airstream. Yeah, this beautiful Airstream. I mean, just the Airstream alone was eye catching. And then also, parked in the middle of Manhattan, which couldn't have been easy. That had to be the most stressful part. And then this
Fifth
beautiful
Avenue.
machine. Yeah, it's wild. And then this beautiful machine that you guys unloaded that looks like I don't know. I don't even know how to describe what it looks like. It just looks futuristic. It looks like a wild experience. It looks like, you know what it is? Like when you watch the movie, like alien movies, like Prometheus, right? And they have the self-healing like capsules that you go into, and no matter what happens, it's just going to fix you up. Kind of looks like that. That's what it reminded me of. And anyway, it's cool. I love the name. I actually had to research what Ammortal meant this morning, and I was like, I don't think is this a real word? And it is, and it's actually perfectly suited. So I'll let you explain why you chose that word. But we're going to talk about something that you just mentioned right before recording too, is term human vibrancy, what that means to you. And I know it means a lot. So, all right, man, I'm going to shut up for a minute. I'm going to let you kind of give a little bit of your background, and then we'll take it from there.
Wonderful. Well, I'll be abbreviated kind of on my background. I've been doing startup companies for almost 35 years. Had some successes, smashed one straight into a wall. I had one hit number 9 on the Inc. 500 and sold to a hedge fund. So I've had some good exits, some okay, and one particularly not good exit, which is all part of it's all part of the game, right? All of it was fun and all of it was important. I wouldn't skip any part of that. I've been in consumer products and e-learning and healthcare in India and Egypt and all kinds of different things. I did mobile tech, sold through pretty much every kind of retailer you can think of, sold to the US Marines, lots of different things. So all of that I feel like was preparing me. And I've got an electrical engineering degree and an MBA from Wharton and some other degrees like that. But I consider myself rather than an engineer or more of an entrepreneur and industrial designer. I love creating things. And I've had the good fortune of being with amazing people and amazing teams in processes that I would never have come up with that if I follow them work really well. And so I had this 30 years of help, if you will. I got to stand on the shoulders of all these brilliant people. And then with this product, which is very much every company I did before this, I feel like was an opportunity. And I saw an opportunity and I then put a business around it. This is path. So this is part of my get up every day, right? This is what the area of interest for me. And it makes this company so much more fun. They were all fun, but this one is it's like it's playing in a sandbox every single day. And when the team and I and our customers and so on feel like we're playing in a sandbox, everything just happens with a little bit more ease and grace, right? It's not that hard. If you put in that extra hour, but it didn't feel like you put in that extra hour because it was so much more fun.
Yeah.
And so this company really was the result of all of those things, a little bit more deeper awareness of myself and some connection with some really important, co-founders that helped kind of guide that. And the product was a lift. It was non-trivial. Whenever you combine multiple fields, some of which can change zeros and ones in wires and change voltage and current and, the 9-foot fields off the body that create circuits in the glue in the plywood and create circuits in plastic, stuff that you would not have anticipated. So we had a multi-year effort figuring out how to make this work, knowing that the core science when we did that was amazing. And it's anyway, it worked out. So we'll take it.
Yeah. Brian, you mentioned that you saw the need for something like this, for this product. Walk me through that. Like, was there a moment you were like, okay, this is the impetus for what I want to do next? You had a clear vision, or was it like, yeah, I mean, it's such an unusual product, right? To see the need for something like that is an interesting thing.
Yeah. Well, I got some guidance as with all things here. And so in some ways, I haven't been involved in creating 100 plus different products. And some of them you might think I created that, right? You might, right? or someone else may think that. And I'm always like, yeah, but if that person in the room hadn't pushed you this way and that way, and then in some ways, it feels like it's the moment that that product is supposed to exist. And you just happen to be a person that recognized that and did something with it. So with all that as a backdrop, it wouldn't exist without original business partner, Stephen Young, who was working with MMA fighters and using some of these bioenergetic stacks to work on joints, specifically knees and things like that. And he was having these outsized outcomes where a fighter that wasn't, according to allopathic traditional medicine, was not supposed to be able to practice for 9 months and was going to have to do all this recovery and prep before they could do anything, practice in a gym, let alone a ring. And he was having them fighting, and these are top 20 guys at the time. He was having them fighting and winning in 6 weeks, 7 weeks with these significant injuries using electromagnetics. At that time, he's using oxygen and he's using light, things like this, but a small subset of what we are now doing. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And there had already been some studies on electromagnetics and light. And so there was some scientific evidence and research papers that were efficacious and well done. And so I get to say, oh, there's science. This works on a joint. So I had said, well, what would this do to the whole body? And he was like, oh, it'd be fantastic. I said, well, has anybody done that? So anyway, that was the beginning of this. And we since then have added in 2/3 more things into this, what we would consider the perfect biological stack. And then recognizing that if I focus on the biology only, and I don't focus on the conscious mind. In my world, the conscious mind is upstream from the body. You can believe yourself weak, strong. You can get yourself sick enough to die through belief. If you like take an emotion of anger and just keep putting it into the body, right? And so really recognizing that the mind must be considered in this. It has to be part of the solution. Otherwise, if I'm in a fight or flight sympathetic state, or I'm just got out of an argument with a spouse, or I have to go, whatever, do something complicated or difficult, and then you're getting into this machine that's working on your biology, your entire biochemical structure is not in a healing state, right? It is in a state of, where's the tiger? And I need quick twitch muscles. I need my prefrontal cortex on. I got to do this, this, and this, eyesight, et cetera. And so you're not in any type of parasympathetic, at least, or homeostatic moment, which is this beautiful healing space. And so by concentrating on the mind and the body, we are then, in my words, not playing whack-a-mole with the human being. And so otherwise I can be really good at skin. I can keep banging on that mole. I could be the best at it. And there are really good products for every individual thing that's out there. I could take companies that are doing light beds and pulse electromagnetics and other things that are non-stacked, and they have great products. I know some of the CEOs and CTOs, and I'm like, you have the best product in the market, right? That does just that. And there's a tremendous amount, especially since COVID, of products, apps, and things like this focused on mental health, breathwork, meditation, but much more complicated things you can stick on your head, VR, and so on. And they're all really good. For me, I'm looking to recognize that if I can get the conscious mind and the nervous system to get into this beautiful set point, like reset, stop, clear out all the baggage that is stopping you from being in that place of healing, that supreme calm location, and then putting all this energy into the body and some hydrogen gas through the nose, where we can, and again, if this sounds like medical claims, we are not a medical device. These are not medical claims.
Noted.
But the science that we have combined into this, and we could talk about it if you'd like, it has been shown to de-inflame the cell. It has been shown to open up cell wall permeability with voltage change. And then the hydrogen gas is this beautiful, smallest molecule, goes straight into the open cell and takes out oxidative stress. So I say that the cell is going, maybe for the first time in years, I can actually perform and function. And the mind is, with the nervous system. In that place, you start healing yourself. And so it's this wonderful stack. Doesn't matter if you're a professional athlete at the absolute peak of your game, and you're looking for every second, every extra game, every extra down, whatever it may be, or you're a stay-at-home dad, or a 14-year-old kid with anxiety, or a 96-year-old wanting to live longer with better memory, less pain, health span, if you will. It's just this beautiful, perfect stack for all of those guys, because everybody needs that calm nervous system. Everybody needs the mind and the body in some sort of resonant state of healing. And then with cellular performance increased, even taking an IV or a pill or a stem cells or anything that's kind of bouncing through the bloodstream that comes across that now de-inflamed, opened, and stress relieved cell. Oh, I'll go in and I'll do my job. So it's this wonderful stacking tool with whatever micronutrient or whatever that you'd like to stick into the body. So that combination of the breadth of application, the number of different people, really everybody, and on different scales as well. Like they're not really interested in performance. They're more interested in sleep, or they're more interested in something else. It works along all those kind of indices.
There's a lot going on there, Brian. There's a lot going on there. Walk me through, I guess, a good place to start would be the actual user experience. So you see this thing. Yeah. So visually explain how do you visually explain this? Because, I should have brought up some screens or something like that, but
Yeah, so so I have my personal design style is I like to think about how it engages the subconscious. And so I think most people, when they're walking up to a product, are not going to be able to appreciate a lot of like a really good designer. Like I saw this Scotch tape holder the other day, and I'm with my wife and I'm like, look at this. And she's like, it's a piece of metal that holds. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is incredibly well done. It is out of a single piece of material, perfectly stamped, infinitely reusable, cannot get stained. Like, and I'm like, this is just, you understand what it takes to think this way. And it's a Scotch tape holder, right? And so the same type of thought process in here is to look at that. Like, how do you create simple, powerful, supportive? So when I see an aesthetic of a visual aesthetic of a product, it's informing me on what's going to happen when I touch it, use it, be in it. And so with this, it was, and I'll get back to this discussion of distances of engagement is what we would call it. But when you look at this and you're 20 feet away, you see this kind of lightning bolt through a block. And so I wanted to communicate to the subconscious of the person, even though they may not be aware of that, we're about to power up, right? Things are about to happen. You're going to get primed, if you will. And then I also wanted to communicate. So I made the bed float, much cheaper and much easier to just have the walls come up and support the bed. But we put it on this very, very thin structure because I wanted to, again, inform through the subconscious, I'm about to take a journey. I'm going to float down a river, down a stream. And so this combination of power and the calm of that journey, trying to communicate through the device. And everything is very open. So I wanted everyone there's a lot more than you might think of people that have claustrophobic issues and concerns. So it's fully open. You can see out of any side. There's a button, you just press it, everything turns off and the lid goes up. So you're in control. You can see everywhere. So that was also part of this. And we knew we were going to use NASA zero gravity angle design on the bed because of the supreme comfort that their years of research. They figured out how to put 9 Gs behind an astronaut and not have any fluid, blood, whatever flow stoppage. And so it was these perfect angles, whether you're 4'8" or 6'8". So all of that kind of came together in the basic, I'll call it the mechanical design of this, and the thin column in the back that the lid goes up and down. Ironically, I went up to an engineer that I was working with and I said, here, I drew this thing with pencil and I'm like, here's what I want to go do. He looks at it. He's like, I'm not doing that. He goes, you want to cantilever this and do all this? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you know how much harder that is than doing this? I'm like, yeah, but this is what we're going to go do. And so anyway, and it was something that I drew in 10 minutes. And so, we're talking about sometimes when something is ready to be, I feel like it very easily just appears, and to drew it in 10 minutes with a pencil. And then we just stayed true to that visual design. And then the other thing for us is 30 feet away, what does it look like? 10 feet away, what does it look like? I start to get more subtlety in the surfaces and the finishes. And do I see fasteners? So we wanted to make it very, very clean and kind of beautiful. And then when I'm on the bed, another layer of, I see the textures. Oh, look at that. The wire is embedded inside of this clear material. How did they do that? There's a bit of intrigue and wonder is another goal.
And so I turn this thing on. I lie in the unit and I turn it on. What's happening for the next 25 minutes exactly? You mentioned a lot of different, I think there's 5 different modalities that you guys have layered into this experience. Are my eyes shut? Are they closed? Do I have sound? Like, what's the immersive experience? And then what are generally some of the sensations or, physical and mental aspects that people report when they step out?
Wonderful. So the current chamber, you walk up and you'll pick an outcome, one of seven. So these
Okay.
are designed to, you can pick something that's like, I want to calm down to go to sleep, or I'm about to go on to a hockey, into a hockey rink and I need to be on. So you'd pick an outcome, and we sequence all of the things I'm about to talk about towards that outcome. There's ways to play with the various frequencies and signals, and certainly to create the vibroacoustic musical structure on this, to create the right resonance patterns inside the body and the mind to get you to that end state that you're seeking. So that's first. You would remove clothing to your level of comfort, is how we say. If you had no clothing on, you're going to get maximum light benefit. But the most important thing is just to be comfortable. I've had people get into here and with a sweater, pants, and a shirt, and they're like, that's what I want to wear. I'm like, okay, because the value that they're going to get, even if the light didn't get all the way to their body, is still, outsized. And so you would then, so just imagine you're getting in, you're leaving like shorts on or something. You're laying down on the bed, put a cannula on, which allows the hydrogen gas. It's the smallest molecule antioxidant. It's a fantastic antioxidant. We just create it by splitting distilled water into oxygen, which goes into the room. Hydrogen comes into the cannula. I'm not going to smell anything. It's just enough to have a therapeutic dose. And because it's small enough, by the way, it crosses blood-brain barrier. So it's going to be able to take out oxidative stress throughout the body. You'll then lay down, you pick your program, you hit start, and a guide comes on. By the way, you've picked the guide's voice. If you want a man or a woman, you want a British accent, whatever. So you pick a guide that you feel meets you for the journey that you're about to take. So you've selected your outcome and your guide, you press start. The guide comes in and says, essentially, thanks for joining me, right? And it walks you through a light breath work exercise to begin the process of calming the nervous system. There's an invitation to create an intention. And so the idea of focusing the why of why you're here. Now, this gets into quantum mechanics and the incredibly powerful positive side of the placebo effect. And so we're really trying to engage your conscious mind in the process of your own path, whatever that outcome was that you selected. We could dive on that for probably 3 hours, but we're going to use everything at our disposal, right? When we're doing this, we're going to use every single tool that we know works, that science says is real. And then you would go into this journey immediately as it starts. This guide is guiding you. Vibration is being brought into the body with this beautiful music, somewhere between 22 to 30 layers in the musical tracks. Theta brainwave entrainment to get you down into that 4 hertz theta brainwave state of kind of semi-awareness, which is this beautiful healing state right around homeostasis, and which is this homeostasis is kind of out of fight or flight and not in deep healing or digestion or something like that, which would be the parasympathetic. Parasympathetic is better if it can only get you there than the sympathetic. But if we can get you to that homeostatic place, then all the value that's about to come to you is maximized.
So somewhere in between is what you're looking for.
Yeah. We're kind of, but the minimum that we're looking for is to get you into a parasympathetic state, out of fight or flight, because the chemistry and the biology of the body are then in support of what we are trying to do rather than battling against what we're trying to do. And so there's a huge thing that the entire industry, if I had something just to share that, again, I'm happy to talk to anybody about, if they want to talk about how to put this into their products in the theme of a collaborative industry, it is really focusing on getting the nervous system into that spot. So we are supremely focused on the nervous system. It is a big dial for us. It's like, first thing, no matter, even if I want to go get onto a playing field, let's get you out of whatever you were worried about, whatever's troubling the body, dial it down and then reset. And then that's the set point. So the music, the vibration of guided voice, which comes back on in the end and does an integration process, and the light and the electromagnetics and the hydrogen, all of this is coming together as a kind of, I'm going to call it a symphony, but it is working on the biology and the conscious mind and everything in between to get you to that end goal. And really importantly, we talked a little bit about this before the call, but it's got to be fun. Like for me, I have a cold plunge. I've got a sauna. I use them regularly. I make them fun. I either do a Qigong exercise in there, or I do meditation, or I listen to a podcast or something. But I have to create that. In a cold plunge, I have my own different things on this. We believe that all tech, all equipment should be an experience. It should be something that you're like, I just want to go do that because the experience was awesome. And I felt great at the end. And it's fantastic that it does all the rest of these things for my body rather than I have to get in that to do that stuff for my body. And I'm, still thinking about what went on yesterday. And it may be uncomfortable, for 20, 30 minutes, something like that. Ours is supremely comfortable and entertaining, and it's doing all these things. And so if you did all this stack of stuff that we just talked about in a series or in sequence, right, rather than in parallel, you both lose the enormous compounding effect of getting the mind and the body to get into that synchrony and the nervous system into that beautiful calm space. And then for at that cellular level, for each of these things to work in tandem to allow that hydrogen to get in and whatever nutrient in your body. Besides that compounding effect, there's a tremendous time savings. And so we sell to a lot of people that they're just like, I have 30 minutes. That's it. I got a busy life. I want to do all that stuff, but I don't have 3 hours. And so at the very minimum, this is a supreme time saving device that gives you basically what you need.
Nice, nice. Well, that's a great segue. Thank you for that, Brian. So, who is buying this? Like, give us some insights into the commercial aspects of this thing.
Yeah, it's we're pursuing various verticals in kind of a phased approach, but it has application in every place you might think of. But we're very heavily focused on professional athletics. Initially, we're in multiple football and baseball teams. So we're with the Dodgers and the Rams and Diamondbacks, on and on and on. And we've got a wonderful relationship with each of them, and the goal for us is to make sure that this thing absolutely helps them recover, and it absolutely gets them ready for practice, ready to get on the field. At a minimum, there's a bunch of other outcomes that are also part of this, and working with body and mind with them. And we have athletes who come in and go, yeah, I can't meditate, because they're just boom, 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 right? They're getting up every day, and we just say, don't worry about that. And then they'll come out of a session like, I think I was meditating. Yeah, probably we're helping you get there. And then watching weeks later where they are just a different person, right? And we watch, again, this is all anecdotal and we're going to be putting studies around this, but we watch multiple people on a baseball team that you would know swinging in front of the ball and when they're at batting practice. And they finally realize that they're anticipating so much faster because everything's just working better. They need to slow down. They actually have more time to respond to the ball, or sleep pattern changes, or pain relief, or all these things. Again, we're not a medical device, so no claims to any of that, just anecdotally, testimonial on testimonial on testimonial on those things. And so we'll be building studies around those in the athletic vertical. We have a lot of clinic-based connections, so med spa type stuff and clinics where it's coming in as a service. We are in a lot of high net worth homes. So for those people, again, that have no time, that have means, this is the perfect thing to get up in the morning or in the evening or whatever to use. We're in hospitality, so hotels and the spas and all of those. So the Four Seasons, the St. Regis, the Ritz, the on and on and on, the Proper Hotel in Santa Monica. And we've found a really great revenue model structure for each of these. So our chief revenue officer, Rob is his name, one of my partners, is really good at looking at, okay, what's your zip code? What's your service menu? Who's coming in here? What's the foot traffic like? How do you advertise? And coming up with the recommended revenue model. And they work. And so even though it's a $160,000 device, and you can get into this for $3,500 a month with a facility that we've got through Brickhouse. And it's really easy to turn that into something that is easily justifiable. In fact, we have people coming in and going, well, wait a minute, I have a masseuse in the next room that I'm paying 70% of my money out to. When I look at that 30% and I look at this, I should just not have the masseuse and put another one of these in, if space is limited. So all of those verticals, there's also like the A4M conference. So doctors, this thing is fantastic, will be fantastic. We're not focused on it in the aesthetics industry. And that they look, feel, perform type of thing. So it could be connected in with surgery or all kinds of different things in all of those. Since this is a great stem cell stack, because you're preparing the body to be able to receive.
Interesting.
There's an entire vertical, again, that we are not exploring right now. I mean, we're also not exploring with any type of active nature here, anything related to healing or pain relief for these things, because we are a wellness product. And the market outside of that, just in wellness, is plenty right now for us. We do get anecdotal information that it works inside of all these various spaces for,
And so the retail price point's right around 160. Is that right? Is that
yeah,
the current price?
yes.
160,000. So if I'm a facility owner, I mean, a high-end health club, something like an Equinox, right? What's the, how do you guys work with that? Like, I know Escape, this sounds like a very similar business model to Escape, right? And what Eric Littman's doing, and they're doing well. Is it a lease? Is it like, and then do you drive people to, do you,
We are
you generally
selling.
drive people to it? Or like, yeah, how does that work?
Escape is doing, at least has been, I'm not sure what they're to do moving forward here, but they've been doing leasing on their model. And we came directly out and made this a purchase. And we have people that are doing well with this. They pay off the device in 6 months just with profit off of operations. And so we haven't had this. It hasn't been a big deal. And so we're able to get into these spaces. When I can go into a place and they have a room with a red light, you have a room with this and a room with that, and I'm like, okay, well, we can put all this together and go over here, right? And take this smaller footprint and allow you to repurpose some other things here. And some people keep the red light bed because it's a different revenue model with a faster turn cycle. Like, we don't tell people to get rid of any of these other products. People are just readjusting what they're doing and ending up getting space back. And so they get to repurpose that. And so what we're allowing is not only the profit off of the revenue that we're doing, but we're allowing the rest of their business to become more profitable. It's not a, how about this? It's not been a hard conversation. If anyone contacts us or we reach out to them, we can typically get to a place where they see the numbers making sense. We have lots of examples of success in each one of these verticals, which allows us to talk to them specifically. Like, is this a membership model? Is this an hourly type service, right? Or session based type of charge, or is it some sort of combination? And we've had price points that vary significantly across the country based on their zip code and their clients and so on. And all of those have worked.
Interesting. And from a business standpoint, I think you guys got a Series A already, right? Like, where are you guys at as far as a business? Am I correct
We
in saying
did
that?
everything to date has been done with notes and safes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So we are in the
Misread that.
process of pulling in Series A right now of 20 million. And so we're actively doing that right now. And that the belief goal is that the end of January, we'll have that pulled in. And it's in a good spot. We're in a good spot where we are able to be selective and not, and it's not just need the money, but really look at strategic relationships and not just someone who has like a skill that they might be able to help us from an advisory standpoint, but they've got a network of folks that either they're invested in or that they have some sort of affiliation with that is really valuable for us. And so it's nice to be on a fast growth rocket ship as the one of one in the category.
What do you call this category? I mean, it's kind of new, right? I mean, it's wellness, it's performance, give
It's
us.
interesting. I was in New York with a PE firm yesterday and wonderful guys. And so we're sitting here talking about this and we're like, well, who are you? And then I'll describe what it is. If we're talking specifically to someone that is very focused on the biology, they may consider themselves a quote unquote biohacker. And yes, they may meditate or they may see the value in that, but really what the way they think is food, working out, and different things that they can do to their biology. And the idea that the mind is upstream from the body is maybe something that's intellectually understood, but not part of the kind of how they do their doing or their practice. And so I would then focus on the biological aspects of this and talk about, hey, it's going to calm your nervous system and do these. For someone that's a little bit more expanded in their understanding of themselves and how they can do this, we can have a much deeper, richer conversation about the conscious mind and the impact on the body and how we're going to put all these things together and create a much more impactful outcome. If you happen to be someone who wants to add body, mind, and spirit into this conversation, we have a double-digit significant outcome of people that have experiences they can't explain. And so I liken it to say, like in their world, and then they'll use whatever language they want to use. If there's someone that uses esoteric language, they'll use esoteric language to describe this. I was in the astral plane, saying this. And if they're not, they use whatever language that some people come out and they're like, I don't, I think they don't know what to say or what just happened. We've had many, I'll call it hundreds and hundreds of these experiences, thousands with the one that we have that's traveling around of these, I call them an opportunity for a transcendent moment. And so when you really get the body and the mind into this beautiful space and everything's performing better, it may be the first time in a long time where that person is just finally, and in that moment, all bets are off on what happens. It's never a negative experience. And for some people, they fall asleep. And for other people, they have this in and out of awareness, beautiful ride, and the music was fantastic. And then other people are, I just left my body and was flying through space. People next to me with
Definitely.
wings, and you're like, awesome. And they're like, how did you do that? And our response is always the same thing. Well, I obviously didn't do that. We just kind of got your head above water, calmed these things down, got these things working a little bit better, did whatever you were going to go do in that moment of supreme calm. We can use different language to talk about this based on who we're talking to, but it works on and supports body, mind, and spirit in interesting ways.
Yeah, I talked to Brandon Cohen from Metabolic after he experienced it, and it was I'm not going to share it on his behalf, but he was like it was something, right? He's like, I didn't see that coming at all, and I think these guys are pretty in tune with himself and his consciousness, but it was very we had a laugh about it. It was pretty interesting for him. Where do you think? Well, let's start with this actually, because I want to cover this human vibrancy. Now, Brian, I have been thinking about this for a long time. Of like, I feel like this whole fitness, health, wellness thing that we have going on right now needs a new name. Like, even as far as like rebranding my podcast to something different from Future Fitness, but I'm too deep now. I'm in 9 years. I can't change it. But I think there's like, Pete Moore from Integrity Square. He calls it Halo, which is like, health, active lifestyle, outdoors. Like people are actively seeking what this rebrand could be. And you mentioned the term human vibrancy. So explain what that means to you.
This is a really important term for me. Like I feel it throughout my entire body whenever I'm talking about this. I look at it this way. So when I was getting into this industry, and I've been in a lot of totally different industries, and I came into this industry, I'm like, wow, health care has a 7% approval rating. Being healthy is actually a lower bar every year to measure yourself and call yourself healthy. I'm better than the average. So I'm quote unquote healthy. If you ask any person that says they're healthy, almost all of them can say, Sarah, do you have any pain? Oh, well, yeah. How's your sleep? Yeah. How's your digestion? Well, yeah. Are you, and the answer is, well, I'm not really that healthy compared to being really on, right? Like mentally, physically, emotionally. And so I've had people to talk about vitality.
Good one.
And that's a beautiful word, right?
Yeah.
But healthcare, health and wellness, well-being, maybe well-being was the highest one. They still felt like they were episodic at best. Like I am, I'm not, I am, I'm not. I was yesterday, I'm not now. And the bar of comparison is just too low for me to feel like that's motivational for me to say I'm in that industry. Doesn't make any sense to me. And so I want to be in an industry, and I want to be in an industry where I'm more supporting others to be here as well, like other CEOs, other businesses, of like, what's the highest thing we could go for? When I'm designing a product, if I'm designing people to become healthier, wow, that could be from 11% to 12%. Now I want human vibrancy was the term that keeps coming to me, because vitality feels very physical, biological, not bad, but vibrancy, I don't even know what does that mean? Like for me, it allows whoever says it to define it whatever way they want, but it's up here. It fits every brand. Like I could take the top 20 mission statements with brands that I respect that are in the industry. We're all pretty much saying the same thing. We're using words that fit a little bit better of who we are and so on. But basically, we're looking to make people feel better, right? We want people to perform better. We want people to have more joy and do their life with more ease and grace. And I'd like their contribution to impact society better. It's some form of these things, right? And human vibrancy to me, it's like this pinnacle word, keep your brand, keep our different colors, keep our whatever else. But wouldn't it be great if we had an umbrella that was kind of this beautiful high level feeling that we're all shooting for? I'd love to like grab, I don't know, call it 100 companies. And on one night we press a button and all of our websites switch from I'm in health and well-being or whatever to I'm in the human vibrancy market, and punch out some PR and invite every other company. There's no ownership on that. It's like, it's a silly thing to own. It's just let's just go do that. And then we could even change how we're putting together these conferences. We're not biohacking. We're not, we're really looking to up level people, but without telling them what up leveling means. Human vibrancy, define it whatever way you want. What does that feel like to you? Okay, well, I'm out to try to do my best to get you into this high performance state. That not just high performance as in you jam yourself into this routine to get to this thing. No, let's do it with a little bit more ease. Let's be so good with our products and our services that you just need to, do this. And you're, on a better path that you notice.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, all these words that we have floating around right now: biohacking, longevity, wellness, well-being, fitness, health, they all carry weight at, for me, it depends on who you say it to or who hears it, right? Like, I think health, I think the medical system, right? I think longevity, I think old rich white dudes. And I think, I think biohacking, I think of, well, what you think of when you think of biohacking, right? Fitness, you think of like hard work and sweat and, chiseled people selling you stuff, right? So they all carry weight now, but, I'm hoping we're emerging as something different. And I don't have a great word for it. Vitality is another good one. I don't have a good word for it. So, human vibrancy, man, I'm cheering for you. I mean, it works for me. So I hope it works out. Good luck with that punch the button 100 companies switch over though. I don't
Yeah,
know you do that, my friend, then we're doing another podcast and I want to find out exactly how you made that maneuver.
So
That's
I
a big
feel
one.
like this won't be that hard. I've seen I've 20 CEOs so far I've talked to.
Okay.
And I'm
Okay.
like, what do you think of this? And they're like, yeah. Now, I don't have their marketing department's probably going to come in and go, wait a minute, we got this, and this. And so there might be a reality based something to this.
Yeah.
But even if you didn't change your website overnight, right? You just said, hey, we're signing into this and we all get together, spend a weekend. What does that mean? What does it mean? How do you fit? How am I going to like alter my practices as a company? Like when we design products, and this may sound strange, but we want to start out with a process that says for the next hour of creativity, I'm going to do this out of unconditional love for my customer. I'm not going to create the coolest next thing. I'm not going to create the thing that makes the most money. I'm going to do it out of unconditional love. So I'm doing that. I'm staying true to the mission of the company, human vibrancy. And if we do that, it's just so much more fun. And then you can bounce, did that meeting achieve that or not achieve that, off of that. And it sounds very esoteric and may even sound like a spiritual practice. It's extremely practical. It's really practical. Your customers then become family. And so you can start to use words like, well, would you sell that to your sister, right? Your mother, your brother, your daughter. And if the answer is no, or there's something off with that, or you've overpriced it, or it doesn't work, or whatever it is, it's out. And so that frame becomes a great added frame. So I would be with this group, if we get together, I'd be throwing that out like, hey, this is a practical, it may not sound like it, but very practical way. And the way to make unconditional love practical is say, if I'm removing their agency, right? That's not the thing to do. If I'm removing their sovereignty, not the thing to do. If there's something that I'm doing that isn't in their best interest, right? And there's a few other words that we use on this, then I should not do that. My take is you will create much better products with higher margins, satisfying customers much easier with less maintenance, less problems, less lawsuits, all that stuff. And it's just more fun. Like when you get a new engineer coming into the team and you have this kind of discussion, they're like, wow, I just feels good. Culturally, it's just a better thing. So this kind of unconditional love towards customer, human vibrancy is the objective. There's a beautiful flow space inside there across the functions of the company.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Last question I always ask on this show, Brian, is what do you need help with? And what I mean by that is that, if people are listening to this from the industry, what would you like to hear from them about? What's a challenge you're facing?
Yeah. I mean, always feedback on this. And so if there's some way that any single individual person has an experience in the chamber and there's something that they felt is missing or it's something that they'd love to add, we get a lot of that. Like, it was amazing. Can you do this? We love that. I mean, we take all that in, it goes into our creative processes. And so that would be kind of the everything that would be out there. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, like we are highly collaborative. And so we believe we're here to do what we're doing. And that leaves a lot of opportunities for collaboration, which we are actively pursuing here with other people's. Anyone out there that has tech or raw science or a specific customer or a market or whatever else that they think is perfect for this, please reach out. We'd be happy to have that conversation. And then if there's something that we can do, so I'm going to throw this out as a collaborative of offer to the industry. And this could also be to the funding industry as well, like the VC, PE that's out there, whatever is if there's something that I'm saying that feels like, well, that would be interesting. I'd like to talk about that in my own company. Again, fully open. And if the human vibrancy thing connects with anybody, whether they're on the funding side or the product side or the service side, hey, I think this is easy. We all get together. And if you do something like that, let's say you get 100 companies or 500 companies to just say, I sign on to this, the PR off of that will be like water going downhill. Like it's very easy to have something like that turn into something notable. And in that, the power of that, the ripple effect, the fractalization of the energy of what we just committed to has meaning. I think that impacts, if a customer hears that, they're going to go, that's a full reframe. I'm not hacking my body. I'm not just trying to live longer. I'm not just trying to remove pain. I'm not just I'm actually trying to get to the most beautiful self that I'm there. And these people that are doing this are signing on to that, and they're actively talking about it all the time. Not on the notion of a police force or anything like that, but just actively working towards that. I feel like that reframe is beneficial across and is easy PR. So, but back to your ask on this, collaboration, partnerships, if there's any funders out there that really would like to get into this, any strategics on the round, we should probably talk immediately. And that's it. And then, of course, team. If there's anyone in here who's like, I want to work in that team, we would love to have you join the family.
Right on, Brian. And if people want to get a hold of you guys, what's the best way to do it?
At Ammortal.com. If you want to experience the chamber, you can go to Ammortal.com. There's a locations button. And so all the commercial locations that will allow people to come in are listed there. And so that would just be chamber. And then there's various other links on that. So if it's press or human resources or something like that, you can link through this. And those we're a small company. And so you can pretty much pick any one of those. And if you said, I want to talk to Brian about blank, you're going to be able to get to me. Not a problem.
Awesome, man. Well, Brian, thank you for joining me. This has been an interesting thing. And I hope at some point this year or 2026, still 2025, in 2026, I get to experience it and see you again in person. So yeah, really enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Le Gette.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the time. Bye.